What up, everybody? Let's talk about it. This is a REALigion podcast with your host, Counselor Real-Time. Whatever you want to call me, I don't know. We're going to talk about some stuff. We're going to figure some stuff out, and who knows? We'll get into it right now on the REALigion podcast. Welcome, everybody, back to the REALigion podcast with your host, Revton. Right on. Hey, guys, welcome back. I've been on a little bit of a hiatus. Not really hiatus. What have I been on? I've been on vacation. Guys. And this is episode 504. 504. No, I've not did 500 podcasts. They haven't did 504. I did 4 podcasts, but like I told you guys before, nobody cares if you only did 4 podcasts. So therefore, I decided that I would do it like I used to write checks. I told you guys, if you tell someone that you wrote a check, and back in the day, you could tell them that you wanted your checks to start at 500. So people took you more serious. That's what I'm doing. Okay? Get over it. So this is episode 504. Take me serious. And it's entitled The 4-Lettered F Word. 4-lettered F Word. All right? We're going to get right into it, but, well, I shouldn't say we're going to get right into it. I want to talk to you guys real quick first. Like I said, I was on vacation. I went out to California. California love. I'm so gangster. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but, like, I grew up in the streets of Hagerstown, Indiana. Rough. Yeah. Like, I'm super gangster. So if you ever see me out and I'm just like holding down like some real hard Tupac or something like that, used to it. Get used to it. Just say used to it. All together, and I say used to it. Right? Because that's what you are. You're used to it. Okay? So anyways, went out to California and had a ball, y'all. A ball, y'all. That's what gangster people say. Had a ball, y'all. I'm probably heard Tupac, Biggie, Dr. Dre, all of them say, had a ball, y'all. You probably heard them say it. But anyways, we had a ball, y'all, and I went surfing. Yeah, and I did get up because I'm gangster. We went to Santa Cruz, and we're going to talk about why we went there, because that place is sick. Love it. If I could move there, I would. I would move there right now if I could. But it costs $4 billion to live in a shed out in Santa Cruz. So I can't. But anyways, went over there for a bit, visited Monterey, which is beautiful. But I got to say, and then we went to Redding, which is where my daughter goes to school, and love Redding as well because of my daughter being there, and she's awesome. She was with us the whole trip, not just in Redding, but it was her birthday. So, Jade, if you ever watch these, happy 20th. Ha ha ha. Daddy said it on his podcast, 2020. I don't know. Anyways, wanted to give her a shout out because she's doing awesome things out there, and in Redding. She's going to ministry school and just having a ball. Having a ball, y'all. There it goes again. So she's out there doing her thing. She got tons of awesome friends, and they're out there changing the world and one crazy moment at a time and just having a blast. So, but our vacation was great. Before we went to California, though, we went to Phoenix. Phoenix is a cool place, guys. If you're not visited Phoenix, Arizona, go visit that place. A lot of cool stuff. The coolest things out there are my friends. I got friends that are out there that I was in the military with, and we got to hang out with them and do a little life with them. So that was cool as anything, and I'm super pumped about being out hanging with them. And I'm going to do it again sometime. But so if you get a chance to go out to Phoenix area, do that. If you get a chance to go out to California, go to Santa Cruz area and do that. So that's where I've been. So that's why I've been off for a minute. So sue me, whatever you want to do. But I'm back now. So I got this podcast together because I was out there and I'm thinking about a lot of stuff, and this has been on my mind. And we kind of hit on a couple of these little side words that we're going to use during this podcast. But the overall theme of this podcast, I think, can be very helpful for some people. But we would definitely want to help people grow and become better versions of themselves. And that's why we're here. Bring down the walls of religion and the constructs that people try to put us in, the boxes people try to put us in, because we don't need them, right? So that's why we're here. So I'm going to start off with the story that I heard. It's a story that I didn't make this story up. It's a story, and I might have used this story before. But I'm going to start off. I think I might have put it in the previous podcast, but I want you to start off again with this story. If you've heard it before, fine, go along with me. But if you asked, and again, like I said, I think we talked about this before, but we'll go over it again. If you asked a group of first graders anybody wanted to draw them a picture, right? And we talked about this, and those are just listening first time, you'll get to hear this for the first time, but it goes right into what we're going to talk about today. You ask a group of first graders, hey, so who wants to draw me a picture? Every one of their hands would go up. Every one of them. They would all go up, and they'd be fighting about, I want to go. Susie got to draw last time. And, they would all be fighting about who gets to go up and draw this picture. They wouldn't even know what it is they're supposed to draw. They would just all raise their hands, and they would want to go, even if they couldn't draw, they would go up and just do their best, right? And then if I fast forward to when they're in 6th grade, those hands would get less. If I fast forward into when they were in 10th grade, those hands would get less. And then as seniors, if I asked, it would get even less. But now as adults, if I asked a big group of adults to come up and somebody come up and draw a picture, very few hands would go up. And there's a reason for that. And we, like I said, we discussed this a bit before. There's a reason for that, and it's called fear. And this is the scary time of year. We're in October. That's my scary laugh. I don't. Hopefully it scared you. But anyways, so we're in October. There's a haunted house. There's all this crazy stuff going on. So we're out there trying to be scared, and this is what I want to talk about. Is that the F word that I want to talk about before everybody gets confused, whatever, is fear, right? The 4-letter F word is fear. But what I've been called to here recently, and I've been called to it my whole entire life, but just really realizing it in bigger part recently, is that I'm called to freedom. And so are you. That we're not called to fear, but we're called to freedom. And freedom takes the place, and it takes faith to have freedom, right? When you're living in freedom, you have to be living in faith. But what happens is faith and fear are opposites, right? And faith, we know according to the Bible, is what's unseen but hoped for. What's unseen but hoped for, right? So when we live in faith, we're not going off necessarily what we've already seen, but we're going off what we hoped for, right? But see, here's the reality is that most people live by fear, right? And fear is not what's seen, but what we don't want, right? It's the opposite of what we hope for. So fear is, it's unknown, but it's what we don't want to happen to us, what we don't want. It's this idea of these things that we really don't want to impose in our life. We don't want to have them in our life. So it's these things that we don't know about, but yet we believe that they're going to happen. See, both of them take belief, right? Faith takes belief, and so does fear. Faith takes belief that what we hope for, what we want to come, is going to come. Fear takes belief in what we don't want to come is going to come. Do you understand that? You see how those two things are very similar. They both take belief in something, but it's a mindset change that we have to really get our head around, because this can be very powerful, because we're believing something. You're believing something in your life right now. Over every part of your life, you're believing something, and either it's hope or it's fear. It's either hope or fear. It's either faith or fear. It's either freedom or fear, because you can't have both. They can't exist in the same place, right? One will override the other. Okay, so there's also there's two types, and I'm sure there's more, but in my own limited little mind, I've broken it down to two types of fear, right? There's this fear that is knowledge, right? We know, again, we maybe not have seen it, but there's no knowledge about certain things. You see a car that's recklessly driving, right? You've not been in an accident, maybe, right? But you know that, hey, this could be very, very troubling. This could be major. Like I could die if I get around that car. I can die. So we process those feelings, and a lot of people say, "Well, that's fear." Well, I'm gonna tell you guys that that's not fear. What that is that is your mind and your body and your emotions and your spirit processing elements in making you aware of danger. You see, danger, the awareness of danger isn't fear. Okay, that is actually that is discernment. When I discern that something is going to cause me, that can cause me harm, not that I'm submitting to it, but that I'm using that knowledge to make myself and those around me safer, that is called the discernment of danger. Okay, so that's not fear. But the other one is this. This one actually is fear. It's when we interpret things around us, and we start to believe these things even though they have no truth. Okay, it's based on the unknown and is made up. It plays on our emotions and causes us to live in a world of fear, right? And we live in this world of what ifs. What if that happened? What if this happened? What if that happened? This is where anxiety lives. This is the world of anxiety, is where you live in this what if everybody's looking at me? What if I walk in the room and they think this? What if that is fear-based living, and that's not what we're called to. We're not called to that type of living at all. Okay, so I'm gonna give you two examples in my own life of what that looks like, and this is two ideas. Okay. I'm going to first give you the known, okay? Like, excuse me, I'm a teammate will drink. We'll get to this in a minute. But there's two types of fear that I broke this down to, and I'm going to give you examples of it in my life. And I'm going to give you a little bit of scary background music for us to set the mood on this. So we have the first story. I had to be about 6, 7 years old, probably 6. And my brother had to be about 3. And we're working with my dad all day at the body shop. Now, this is the known fear. This is the danger one. And so we're all dirty because we've been at the body shop all day. My mom comes home. She's tired. We've been working. She's been working. My dad been working. And she said, "Well, I'll put you guys in the bathtub." And she put us both in the bathtub together. Again, we were little boys. And I'm just sitting I'm in the back. Michael's in the front. I'm just washing, trying to get all that dirt off, because I didn't like dirt, So I got all this dirt floating around me. And all of a sudden, I looked down. And I was like, what is that? What is in the water? It's all around me. And I started panicking. I was like, well, what is that? And I look and I scream, and I realize what it is. And I jump up onto the back of the tub, and I'm this little bitty guy, and I'm just perched up on the back of this tub, and I'm screaming, and my mom is looking at me, and my brother's just sitting in the water still, and he's not moving, and I'm just screaming at the top of my lungs, and it's poop. My brother had pooped in the bathtub, and it was everywhere. That is a known fear. That there is literally 3-year-old poop floating around me, on my body, touching me. That is the scariest thing it could possibly have happened to you. That is danger. That is worth assessing. That's my story about that type of fear. But I have another one for you. And I'll start the music over because this one's the other type of fear. So, the year is 2001. I'm living in Phoenix, Arizona. Actually, Scottsdale, Arizona. And my parents and my brother come and visit my wife and I, and my only child at the time, Jade, and they come out there and they get to my house around 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that. We lived in a little gated area, and nice little place, condo, townhome type thing. They get there, and I got to go work about 5 o'clock anyway, so I get up, we go out, we meet everybody, give them hugs and everything, go back inside for a moment, and then I got to go to work, so I go out to my car. I get into my driver's side door, and I look back, and I realize that my back passenger window has been smashed out. And so I realize that someone had been trying to break into my car. And so I go back inside and I tell everyone, hey, someone has tried to break into my car. So they all run outside. And we're looking, and we realize that this must have happened. Whenever my parents pulled up, we must have spooked the person. And they must have ran off. So we start looking around to see if we can find any clues to who might this have been. Maybe even find, a crowbar or something and see what would happen. So we're looking around, and I'm all around. By this time, we didn't see anything, and so I'm leaning against the hood of the car, and my wife is still looking. She starts to look around the car, and then she starts to bend down, and she looks underneath the car, and she screams, "He's under the car! He's under the car!" And at this moment, fear overtook me. And I went to say, "No, he's not," because I already looked under the car and I knew better. But instead, I started to run backwards, and I ran into my grill, and I was trying to move around the grill to get distance between me and the person that my wife said she had seen under the car. And I'm screaming, "No!" That's all I could come out. "No!" Right? But my dad, being a superhero, he dove under the car. And he goes, "Honey, no, he's not." And we looked under the car, and what she had saw was bushings, and what she had thought was somehow the man had lodged himself up into the car over the dry shaft and was holding the dry shaft like this. But what she saw was bushings that looked like fingers that are this big around, like this. And she screamed, "He's under the car!" So her fear saw a person. My fear said, wanted to say, "No, there's not." But instead, all I got out was, "Grrr," and I ran backwards. My dad's knowledge, instead of fear, made him dive under the car, said, "Well, even if there is someone in there, I got to do something about it." Right? So that's the two types of fear. And the fear, and to get spiritual about this, fear is the enemy's language. Fear is the enemy's language. This is what the enemy speaks in, is in lies and in fear, so that we can fall to that. See, the devil has no true power over anything, but rather presents a false reality and limitations, so that we will believe it in these lies. So we believe these lies so that it will cause us to have fear, and that we'll believe those things, and that we will submit to them and live by its rules. And that's what most people are doing. We're living by the rule of fear, the rule of limitation. And I'm here to tell you, and the Bible's been here to tell you, and faith has been to tell you, forever, that is a lie. That's not what we're called to. But see, this is the problem, is that the world is bent on believing that that is the way of life, that we are to live in fear. But it's just not true, right? Even our society and the way we do things, it's ingrained in us from a very early age. Right? Like there's some type of psychology study that talked about that fear, the word no is, by the time you're 16, you've heard it thousands and thousands and thousands of times. You've heard the word no, 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 right? And then they looked at the word yes, and it's a fraction of the time that you've heard the word no. So we're raised in this idea, in this culture of no. And our neural pathways build these roads to these places, and they all end in no, right? No, I can't. No, I won't. But to reinforce that, and a major part of that is the way we're raised, and also our education system. Now, I'm not here. I love teachers. Teachers are awesome. I think they're heroes. They do stuff that I don't think anybody else can do. This is not what I'm talking about. But we are taught from a really young age to follow the rules. You see, schools in the modern times are created to make us workers of compliance. That's what schools are built for, making us workers of compliance. It was developed in this time where we were in this space race, right? And there was a purpose behind it, right? It was the whole education was built around, let us get better faster, and let us learn more, and let us beat other people to the moon. Let's beat other people to space. That was the whole idea, was to create yes sir types of people. So that the agenda of the government and the agenda of the rich, powerful people would be met and accomplished. We won the space race, okay? And I'm sure, I guess it's a good thing, but it was built on a culture of fear, and it was done in the name of freedom, but it wasn't freedom. It was built in this whole culture of fear. Like, let's make people submit. Let's make people learn these things. Let's make people have this type of mindset. We have to have factory workers. We have to have people that will be compliant and join these types of movements. And that a way that they don't think outside these parameters, and they just stay right here so we can control them. But here's what that type of, there's always a sacrifice, right? There's always a sacrifice. When we do something else is sacrifice. And when we won this whole space race. We lost some things. Well, and let's look back at it, right? So when the first things that they did was whenever they said, okay, we're going to go into space race mindset. Now, I'm not sure it was even just vocalized that way, but there was this push this way. What we sacrificed first in the education system was free thinking and art. Right? It was let's get rid of all that, because you don't want that hippie mindset. You don't want people thinking for themselves. You don't want that because you can't control that. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that they think this way and do the things this way, right? We need to be able to control them. And here's what I'm looking at is I know that we won, but I know we also in the space race, but also know we lost. And I believe it, and I know it with all my heart because I see it all around me. Because we live in a yes sir, yes ma'am society, but a no me society. Now, I'm not talking about a selfish me, right? I'm talking about me being able to be free. We're going back to freedom, right? Freedom and fear. That's what we're talking about this whole time, right? It's a no me freedom society. And here's how I know that. Because most people spend their entire life going to a school they hate, studying stuff they hate, right? Taking jobs that they hate. All because they're fearful. We do all these things because we're scared, right? But you might ask, fearful of what? I'm not scared. I hate my job, and I didn't like school when I went to it, but that's what we're supposed to do, right? That's what we have to do. That's the mindset that I'm telling you is fear-based, and we can't do that if we want to be free, okay? Here's what fearful, here's what you say, you might, well, I'm not fearful. Well, here's what I'm thinking about fearful, right? Here's what we're fearful of. We're fearful of failure. We don't want to be failures in front of our peers, in front of our family. We're fearful of not fitting in. I know most people say, I don't care about fitting in, but there is something inside most of us that want to fit in. But we have to fight that. Because fitting in and going with the rest of the people in the world is just being a cow who led to the slaughter, right? We're just part of the herd, and we're not called to be that, right? Like I said, we can be fearful of being different, right? Being different is exactly who you were created to be. You don't look and act like someone else because you are you. Being different is actually a God thing. But we live in fear of that, right? And I know a lot of us are saying, I don't have none of that. But yes, you do. Okay? Because you wouldn't be doing the things you're doing. You wouldn't be having the job you have. You wouldn't be living a life the way you live if you didn't suffer from these fears. We have a fear. We're fearful of upsetting people. Your family, your wife, your kids, your extended family, your friends. You don't want to upset them. You don't want to disappoint them. So we have fear. We're fearful of that. Fearful of breaking the rules. These rules that are determined by someone that's not you. We're fearful of breaking those rules. The other big thing that we're fearful of is being exposed. And the list goes on. Being exposed is something that a lot of us are fearful of. People seeing us for who we really are. But we have to kick that. We have to fight that with all cost. At all costs, we have to fight that because that, I want to get into that. That is actually where we have to live. We live in a really weird world right now. Fear creates confusion, right, guys? Fear creates all this confusion, and that's exactly what the devil wants, right? Because as long as you believe that you're lost and you continue looking for this way and looking for this, this fix to your life, you're going to always seek safety and comfort. When you're lost, all you're looking for is safety, comfort, safety, comfort. But I'm convinced that comfort is actually the work of the enemy. I don't believe that we are actually called to be comfortable. Because comfort allows us to hide. And when we hide, we are lost. And this is the weirdest thing about this, is that we live in the most educated time of the world right now. Ever in the history of human existence, we live in the most educated time. But I believe that we are the dumbest people living in the most educated time. Why? Because we only know what we're told to know. Back before we were told what to believe, we had to actually come up with our own original ideas. We had to think for ourselves. Imagine that, like actually having original thought. We used to have to actually, if we had a problem, we had to actually had to figure it out, not just look it up and go, oh, somebody else has done it this way. Now, I understand, these are short, that I'm figuring something out by looking it up and, well, this person did that. That's a shortcut to their success, their understanding, and their solution. But there is something to be said about original thought. We need to get back to where we have some original thought. When I was growing up, we didn't have kids eating Tide Pods. Nobody was drinking detergent, right? We've known for probably since the beginning of detergent, we have known, hey, don't put it in mouth, okay? Don't be sucking down some Tide, because it'll kill you. That we've known that's not been something that we've had to think about. Like, well, I haven't seen a YouTube channel about Tide Pods, and so I guess maybe it's okay. That's my voice for it, right? So yes, we're educated, but why are we so confused? I believe it's because we're still living in these blinders. We're living in this confusion state of fear because we're afraid someone might see us, or we might be out of line enough. Because I know growing up, man, that was the most intimidating thing, is being called out in front of your peers. Andy Payne, that was what I was called in elementary school. Andy Payne, do you got something you'd like to tell the rest of the class? You want to share what you're talking about with the rest of the class? And your face go, poof, just red, just staring. No. And then you get, listen, I remember being so fearful that, I remember being so jacked up in that like they would call me out like, Mr. Payne, please come to the front of the room. And I would be like, inside me, I was dying. I was like, I could go to the front of the room in front of my peers. And I'd get up and I'd walk up there, and they would go ahead and share with the rest of the class what's so important that you couldn't wait until recess to talk about. I was just saying, did I like my new shoes? And I would cry. I would tear up because I was being exposed in front of I was being made fun of. I guess I don't want to say I was being bullied or anything. I wasn't being bullied. I was just being exposed. I was being put on blast for what I was doing because I wasn't complying to the rules. Now, I'm not saying we should be all anarchists, but I'm saying we need to be able to be free enough to push the limits of what we think we know and what we think we believe, right? Because if not, you're living in fear, not in freedom, right? And like I said, fear creates this confusion. We cannot live there. Freedom requires us to have constant growth. And comfort doesn't allow for that growth, okay? Anytime there's growth, there's going to be pain. If we want to live in freedom, we have to be willing to endure pain. And let's look at the physical body, right? If we want to physically get taller, right? When we're young, I know I was the shortest person on the planet close to on the planet as you could possibly be up until my freshman year. I grew 6 inches between my 8th and 9th grade year. I didn't break 5 foot until between my my 8th grade and freshman year. I was short. My nickname was Shorty. Full show. Okay, short. I told you I was gangster. I had a freaking rat named Shorty. When I was in 8th grade, 7th to 8th grade, I was Shorty. Shy. Hey, Shy. That's how they say it. Hey, Shy. That's me, dude. Okay, brothers and sisters. She's Shy. Okay? Well, I was Shorty, Shy. And I wanted to grow so bad because I was so much smaller than everybody else. But when I started to grow, man, it hurt. My legs would ache. My mom would have to rub my legs. And hey, I had a good mom. Okay? Don't make fun of me. Anyways, it would hurt so bad, and I would rock myself like this back and forth in my bed, and when I go to bed, I would just hurt so bad. But there was physical pain that came along with my physical growth. I had to hurt in order to grow. Same way when you go to the gym, right? Right now, if I want to go get buff, because, guys, I am practically a bodybuilder. But if I want to get bigger, which I know a lot of you guys are like, not possible, right? But if I wanted to, I got to go to the gym. I got to put on some weight on the bars and stuff, and I got to push to the point that what? I can't go in there and be like 2 pounds. Oh, get physical, wanna get physical. I can't expect growth there. Bomb song, by the way. But anyways, I got to put that weight on, right? Push hard and hurt and struggle. Guess what? When I struggle and I hurt, growth. My arms grow. My chest grows. I look like freaking Tarzan, right? That's what happens. That's exactly why. We know that. We know that happens. But most of us don't look for growth. We look for safety and comfort. That's why we're out of shape. That's why we're miserable. That's why we feel like there's no answers. We feel like we're stuck. All those things are because we've sought comfort. But I promise you, comfort's not going to make you happy. Only way you're ever going to be happy is in growth. Growing. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, growing. This is what we got to do, right? We got to grow. But in this world, we have a world of free people living in fear, looking for safety and comfort. But see, this is an extremely old problem. And we talked about Adam and Eve back in the garden on one of these episodes before too. But check this out. Soon as they forfeited freedom, and if you know your Bible at all, you know the answer to this. But as soon as they forfeited their freedom and they went into sin and looking for something other than what God had for them, what did they do? They went and hid. They hid in fear. They were seeking comfort behind some clothes that they made, seeking comfort in hiding, right? That's what they wanted. They knew that they weren't where they were supposed to be, so they sought comfort. They were so scared that they wanted to find this place of safety and comfort. And the same is true for us today. We do the exact same thing because we're afraid of being exposed. And that's exactly what Adam and Eve were afraid of. They weren't afraid of the snake. They weren't afraid of the fruit. They weren't afraid of the sin. They were afraid of being exposed. And that's exactly what, we're not afraid of sin. If you're afraid of sin, then you aren't healed from that, right? If you're afraid of drinking and you are an alcoholic, then you aren't healed from alcoholism, right? What we should be literally seeking and what should really be calling us out is the ability to be exposed, right? We need to be exposed in order to be healed. And that's exactly what God did for them. He exposed them and then brought them back into relationship with him. He didn't expose them to punish them, but that's what we thought. That's what Adam and Eve thought. That's what we think as well. We're going to be judged. But the reality is this: we need to be exposed to be brought back into relationship, into freedom. That's the truth. That's the Bible. Okay? See, you guys know this because I've mentioned this before in the other podcasts as well. As I coach wrestling, and I tell my wrestlers all the time, I say, we have to become comfortable in uncomfortable situations. We have to become comfortable in uncomfortable situations in order to grow. That's like my motto in my home, in my wrestling room, and everywhere, is you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to strive to be uncomfortable, to be in pain. And I know that's just so counterintuitive. We don't want that. And Elon Musk was actually interviewed, I think recently, and they said, now that you are who you are, you're having all these young people look up to you and all this stuff. What are you going to say to these kids that want to be the next Elon Musk? And he says, get used to suffering. I think it's brilliant. I think that is so good. I know a lot of people are like, oh, why would he say that? Because we want the church answer. Oh, you can be anything you want to be. All you got to do is just study, make the right grades, go to the right schools, and keep your nose clean of bad stuff, and you're going to make it. You're going to be something. And all we need is just to follow those rules. But Elon Musk is right. If you want to be the next Elon Musk, you better get used to suffering. Because that man has to suffer to be the genius that he is. He has to put his mind and his body and his whole person in a place where it suffers so it can be pulled, all this brilliance can be pulled out of him, right? That's the truth. We got to get good at suffering and become comfortable in uncomfortable situations so we can grow. It surprises me to watch athletes, not just in my school, but in other schools and colleges and everything. They come out, the college or athletes come out of one season and into wrestling season. I only know wrestling because that's my area of expertise. But they come into our season and they are just in terrible shape. They're throwing up, and I understand wrestling's a different beast and your conditioning is different for that, but they're throwing up. They can't do like 25 jumping jacks. And if you ask them to do push-ups, they want to get down and do them on their knees and they can't push themselves. Right. And I'm like, what were you doing in the other season? But what it shows me is that I can for sure say that they were settling. No matter where they were at, they were settling. They were allowing just to seek comfort in that other sport. They took the easy way out, right? And that's how we coach a lot of times. And we coach kids with this mentality of make them fall in line, make them do these things, right? Make them run this program, do this, right? Because we think we know best, but what we create in that is the same thing I'm talking about with this whole thing. We create this culture of fear. I don't want to make the coach mad, therefore I'm just going to do what he says. But then they find ways to cheat and seek for comfort. Right. And so in that culture, the reward is getting coaches like, hey guys, you're doing a good job, really, really seeing a lot of effort out there. But the fear mindset keeps them from growing. Instead, what we should be doing is pushing them to the point of pain, pushing to the point of breaking them down and allowing themselves to rebuild and having the freedom of their mind to create inside of that. Because what happens is when you've earned something through sweat equity and through pain and sacrifice, there's an ownership that happens whenever you do that. When you've earned it, it's hard to take it from you because that would be stealing it from you. So whenever a football player goes out and earns it on the field, they earn it in practice. They push themselves beyond the expectations because they are thinking for themselves. They have earned it. So on Friday nights, they're no longer going out there and just doing what the coach told them to do. They're not the coach's team no more. Now they own it. It's about them. It's no longer just, well, we're gonna win. We're gonna kick some butt. No, they're out there. I've worked for it. Right? You're gonna have to steal this from me. And I tell my guys all the time, if you get beat, it's because you've been outworked. Okay, yes, there is talent in these circumstances a bit, but here's the thing. Talent's one piece of the puzzle, but work ethic is another large one, right? How much you put yourself into something, right? So whenever my guys toe the line, if they just get hammered, I don't even have to say it. They have been outworked in practice. They've been outworked in the off season. They've been outworked in their minds, in their bodies. They've been outworked the whole time. They didn't earn it. So here's what I like to equate it to. When we earn something and we put in and we have the ability to grind and suffer for something, we're making deposits in an account. It's just like no different than a physical account that you have at the bank. But when I'm earning something, I'm taking that earnings and I'm putting it in an account. And each time that I'm called to do something, whether it be wrestling or it be getting in a fight or it be going down the football field or whatever, I have to write a check out of that account because it's going to cost me something. That game's going to cost me something. That match is going to cost me something. So whenever I get up there, I go, okay, this game is going to cost me X amount out of my account. Either I have enough in that account or I don't. And what happens most of the time in kids' lives and people's lives is they don't have enough earnings in their account because they haven't suffered enough. They've not pushed enough. They've not done enough. So when they go writing that check, it's no different than writing a check out of your bank account. If you don't have enough to cover it, guess what? It bounces. We have a lot of bouncing checks in people's lives, in young people's lives and in old people's lives because they've not earned it. Okay, so when you bounce a check on Friday night, you know what that looks like? You get your butt kicked. You know what that looks like on a wrestling mat? You get smashed, right? And then you want to make an excuse why it happened. Well, we just weren't prepared enough. We should have ran a Z route instead of ran an X route. No, what you didn't do is you didn't put in enough work. Like I said, same on the wrestling mat. Well, I should have let him get to my legs, and I should have ran this. No. Okay, what you did is you got whooped. You didn't have enough to cover it. Okay, and that's life. That is life. Don't seek comfort. As soon as you seek comfort, you stop making deposits in their account. look to grow constantly, right? Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because now I'm going to push it over here. This is the same way most churches are ran. For hundreds and hundreds of years, the church has been used to put fear in people so that they would follow a certain agenda and be pliable for a certain agenda. And they would fall in line. Why do you think nations adopt a certain religion? You think it's because, most of the time, it's not because the leader's like, I've really found the truth. And I'm just going to follow this truth, and I'm going to make my nation follow. That's not the case anymore. That's not the case most of the time. What it is they can control the environment. They can control the people. So therefore, they make that the national faith, right? Because people that are going to church are being taught to be compliant. In most churches, if you don't follow the rules, you are going to hell. And that is BS, okay? And that's exactly what most churches are structured like. And you look at it even from the way you go in. You go into church and you know that you're not supposed to talk during these times. You know that there's going to be this amount of stuff that's going to be said, and there's going to be this amount of songs, and there's going to be this person get up with a microphone, and it's unquestionable what they say. You cannot question what they say, but that's bullcrap, right? We're supposed to test every spirit. That's what the Bible says, test every spirit, okay? And so we go out and we leave church, and we don't want anything to do with, the people at church. We don't want anything to do with the pastor church Monday through Saturday. We want distance between us because we can't expose our real lives to them. So we create this culture of fear and this culture of seclusion and all this stuff. And that is not biblical. The church is supposed to be a body of people, a family of people going through life together, being exposed in all their good and their bad, and learning and growing and suffering and growing and all these things, not going out and just trying to create distance in our picket fences away from the church and away. That's why in my own hometown, I have a hard time preaching the gospel, because everybody wants to say, this is who you are, or this is who you was in high school. And also, they don't want me a part of their everyday life. They don't want me Monday through Saturday. They will listen to me sometimes on Sunday so that they can go, okay, yeah, that was good. And then we want to separate. But the reality is, we can't have church like that. That's not church. That's a cult. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. This is how religion is ran. Religion wants you to comply to their rules, but that's not what God is. God's not telling you to comply to his rules. What he's saying is he is not a destination, right? He is something that we're supposed to explore. We're not supposed to discover God. We're supposed to explore God. And I love that. But the church doesn't see it that way. The church wants Christians to comply. And especially in America, we want to look a certain way. We want service to look a certain way. And we get people that leave church, well, the worship just not, I just don't feel the spirit anymore in worship. Ever since Johnny started singing, something about it, I just don't feel the spirit. When Mary used to sing, and she'd sing the old country hymns, and you could feel the spirit. BS, whatever, okay? You're making up your own rules because you want it to look a certain way, and you want to find comfort in the church, but church is not supposed to be comfortable. If you're comfortable in church, you're in the wrong place. And I'm not talking about preaching fire and brimstone to you either, because that's fear-based too. I'm talking about we need to be able to be real, and that is uncomfortable for most people. But I won't settle for anything less. Because religion is not faith. Religion is not faith. People want the nice people in church, the nice church. They go because they want to do the right thing. They've always went to that church. Their families always went to that church, and it's the place where the social club where everybody meets up on Sunday, and whatever. No, that's what? Have fun, but that's not real. Religion does not want you to have a discussion. It wants to tell you what to believe. Faith wants a discussion. Wants to work it out in real life. What do you think Jesus came as a real person? He could have came as a spirit. He could have came down and been like, hey guys, you're doing it wrong. This is the way you do it. I'm out. He could have done that. But he came as a real person, talked to real people about real problems, and did real life with them. That's what we're supposed to be as the church. Real people doing real life. Okay, that's actually part of our church motto. Real people doing real life, searching for a real God. That's what we do at the church movement. I'm not saying we're doing it all right. I'm saying that's exactly what we're in pursuit of. But see, instead, we take the approach and we try to make people comply, and we use the devil like he's some type of supervillain, right? Like he has some superpowers, and he's always out to get you. Oh, the devil. He's just always out to get you, and he's everywhere. He even kept me from getting a parking spot at Walmart in the front. I mean, I was driving around all day looking for a parking spot, and you know what? Devil's all over me that day. Bull crap, come on. This big Satan does not have that power. We cannot over spiritualize the power of Satan. When we focus on that, then yes, you're right. What happens? We start falling in the mindset of Satan. Yeah, he's tough. Boss. He got a lot of power. He ain't got no power. The word says greater that lives in you, right, than is in the world. Okay, so you have greater in you than what's in the world. So why are you bowing down to a Satan that has no power? It also says that we trample we trample upon his head. He's under our feet. He's not to be feared. Satan is not to be feared. He's under you. He's below you. He has no power in your life until you give him power. That's the thing I'm trying to get at. You can't have freedom if you're giving this evil and this whole idea of Satan power. If you overemphasize Satan, he is your God, and you will live in his world, and it will be fear-based world, and you'll believe all these things are going to happen to you, and you'll be stuck in this life that you don't want. You'll live in a world that you don't want to live in. You'll go to a job you don't want to have, and you'll have people around you don't want around you, and you can't be real with anybody. The only time you can quote unquote get real is when you go out with your friends and you have some drinks or whatever. That's not even real either. So we need to get to this place where Satan is below us. He's under our feet. He has no power. And we can stand up in victory and go, I'm beyond that. I'm in freedom. He's bondage. I'm not a part of that. That's where we got to get. All right, let's talk water for a minute. All right, and I'm transition to this, but I want to give you, this is a great example of this. So I came upon this water, it's called Liquid Death. And I love the branding, and I thought, oh man, this is cool. It's called Death to Plastic, and the aluminum cans and all this stuff, and it's all this cool stuff about it, whatever. Well, long story short, I ordered some of the water, and I got told about a video that it just posted in this season of Halloween, right? And they actually had a witch doctor, a real witch doctor, come in and put a curse on water and said, anybody that drinks this water will be cursed, and that there'll be a demon magnet, hocus pocus, ear, right? And he poured out the water, and he said, all the water. But, and I know that sounds scary, but it's only scary, and that world only exists. There's been so many psychological tests done on people about witch doctors, and they say, well, I saw a witch doctor and he put a curse on someone, that person died. They did so many tests on those types of things, and here's what they found: that it is not a physical, and there's nothing physical that happens to people. We know that in the psychological, in the brain, we know in their physical body that nothing happens. But what we do know is that psychosis, their mindset, their mental mindset, is what causes them to suffer when they believe what's being done to them is real, right? That's the same reason why I don't care about the hocus pocus on this water. Now, I don't want to support someone that has that belief and wants to do those type of things. Now, I'm going to drink the water that I ordered because I don't care. I'm not scared. Austrian Alp water, really good. And I'm not scared. You know why? Because no matter what they've done to the water is fake and false, and it's only real if I allow it to be real and believe it. That's what happens. But you're easily controlled when you live in that mindset. When you allow everything else in your life to be controlled and manipulated and things like that, you'll fall for anything. You'll be controlled by anything. And that's going back to last podcast. My shirt, it says do not or don't drink it. Don't drink it. And on the back, I showed you guys last time, it's got Jim Jones Kool-Aid stand. Now, those that don't know Jim Jones was a cult leader, and he was leading a church in my local area, and then moved it and ended up in Africa. And pressure finally got to him, and they finally said, hey, we got to stop this guy. He's doing bad stuff. So they started to come in on him. And what he had done, he had arranged with all of his people that they would drink this Kool-Aid solution and kill themselves. 900 and some people died. Now, my shirt is not to glorify Jim Jones, and it's not to discredit the deaths of the 900 people that passed in that tragic event. My shirt is to expose religion for the stupid BS that it is. It's fear-based, and it does not need to happen or exist. And this type of stuff with Jim Jones should not happen again. But we have to wake up to the reality that this is the way most people live. The reason why we can fall for a Jim Jones and the reason why we can drink the Kool-Aid is because we live that way every day in our own lives, every single moment. Oh, I'm scared of that. I'm scared of that. I'm scared of that. So when someone comes along and tells you, hey, if you don't do these things, you're probably going to miss the boat. You're probably going to die. You're probably not going to make it. And you're not getting to heaven. If we're living in a fear-based mind, we'll gravitate right to that and we'll drink the Kool-Aid, so to speak. And these people actually did, and it cost them their life. But I promise you, you're drinking the Kool-Aid every single day when you live inside of fear. You're drinking Kool-Aid, and it is killing you. It's killing your creativity. It's killing your uniqueness. It's killing your hope, and it's killing your freedom. And we have to wake up to this because we have to change. That's what this shirt is about, right? This is why I rep this, is because I'm anti-religion and fully committed to faith. We need to get behind that, right? See, we have to fix our minds. And this is how we do it. This is how we get past this, guys. We have to fix our minds on truth and only follow that. When we fall for the lies, that's where everything breaks down. We need to feel empowered to ask questions. Words like how, what, and who or what lead us to breakthrough. That's how the world has changed. How is this going to work? What are we going to do? And who can make it happen? We start asking those types of questions in everything of our life instead of just accepting things for the way they are. You need to be somebody that's innovative, someone that's constantly changing. And you have to get to the point where you can ask those questions in all areas, including your faith. Why do I believe this? Who said it? What is it going to do? Where did it come from? Those are the questions you have to be able to ask. And when you ask those in your faith, you grow. Yes, it might be painful. Yes, churches might push you away, but the reality is you will only grow in that environment. And here's what the word says about that. Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue, if there's anything praiseworthy, meditate, think on these things. Don't let your mind get wrapped around the negativity, the brokenness, the pain, the issues. Don't let your mind get focused on the lies and the destruction and the constructs that people are trying to put you in and all the walls that people place around you. Don't let your mind or your body or anything focus on those things. Instead, focus, meditate, think, pray on all that is good and all that God has created you to be, and keep your mindset on those. That's what the Bible says. That's in Philippians 4:8. Okay? Also, the word says this, therefore, submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. That's it. You don't need any hocus pocus. You don't need anything crazy. It says, submit to God, okay, and focus on the things that he's told us to focus on, all the good things, right? And the devil will flee from you. That's it. That's in James 4:7. You see, remember this, in order to grow in any area, there will be pain, but it's worth it. Fear will not leave on its own. It is connected to the lie in you, right? It's connected deep inside you. There's a lie that you believe somewhere that's associated to every fear you have. And we have to expose that lie. Now, that's going to be painful. That's going to hurt. because it's going to cause us to be real for the moment and be exposed, maybe to the world, maybe to our family, maybe to, our education system, maybe to our teachers, maybe whatever you got to expose yourself to be real. Do it, because the temporary pain is worth it, because the everlasting freedom that you get. I'm in this place of freedom that I'm not going backwards. Fear is not going to drag me back into religion. Fear is not going to drag me back into anything. I'm living in freedom. And with that being said, even my debt and things like that, because, there's certain things that you feel like you have to have. I own this building and I got a cafe down. Matter of fact, let me put this out there, public announcement right now. If anybody wants to buy a cafe and it's got a really beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, a loft apartment above it, and a full functioning cafe that's doing well, but it's not necessarily who I was created to be, to run a cafe and things of that nature. So if anybody wants to buy a cafe, it is up for sale. Anybody can buy it. Right? If you got the money and you want to come by and it's been your dream and you want to be free from whatever else, and that's what you call freedom, is running a cafe or running the shop like that and living above it, then I have the place for you. But for me, I want to travel. I want to do amazing things all over the world. And if I can free myself up from the obligation of this place, I'm going to do it. Anything that's holding me back, I'm going to alleviate so that I can actually be free. Now, I can still own this place and still be free, but I'm just telling you, if that's you want a place like this, then hey, it's for sale. And if you want one of my cars, they're for sale too. Anything that I own that would keep me from being able to be who God created me to be, I want to get rid of it. So just approach me. If I got something you want, I bet I can get it to you. All right. You just got to make sure it's your freedom that you're called into. Don't go into bondage looking for it. Right. Come into freedom. If you're called to this type of lifestyle, I have it for you. Okay. With that being said, I want you guys to understand that everything in life is going to cost you something. It'll either cost you your life by living in fear and going by the rules of the enemy, by living in his world, and you'll suffer forever, or it will cost you growth. It'll cost you, and that growth is going to cause you pain. But that pain might cause you to live a different life, one that people aren't used to, one that people don't necessarily accept, or can't get their mind wrapped around, or maybe it costs you, going out and saying, listen, I'm not going to this school no more. I'm not studying this no more. I'm not doing this job no more. Maybe it's going to cost you maybe it costs you some of your finances. I don't know, but something, the lies that you are believing is keeping you in this fear. You have to expose it and you have to grow in order to be free. The F word, 4-letter F word, is fear. Don't live in it. I'm going to close like this. I got a couple new tattoos here recently. You can see that one. That one is I entitled Mises, because it's a traditional tattoo of Jesus, but obviously we don't know what Jesus looks like. So that's my Mises. That's what I see him as. And I got it so that I wouldn't put God in Jesus in my box, right? It would be a reminder that just because I see him that way doesn't mean that that's who he is in the fullness. I'm still discovering and going, not discovering, I said that wrong. I'm still exploring him, and I will forever, right? And then I got another tattoo on the Santa Cruz boardwalk because and I told you I was going to tell you why we went there. I went there because growing up, there was a movie called The Lost Boys. And I don't know if you know that movie or not, but if you don't know that movie, you should watch it. It's awesome. Probably the greatest theme song ever of any movie ever made. But it was a quote-unquote horror movie about vampires, good versus evil. And for a long time, I wanted to be a vampire because of this. I even prayed that these teeth, when I was a kid, would grow in sharp because of this movie. I was like, oh, please let me get vampire teeth because of this song in this movie, right? But I went to Santa Cruz because that's where they filmed the majority of the film. And I wanted to see all the places. And I know you're like, oh, that's a horror movie. You shouldn't watch horror movies because it'll send you straight to hell. No. Okay? To me, it's good versus evil, right? And as I've gotten older, I realize that movie absolutely symbolizes to me what I was as a kid, free. I was like the Frogger Brothers. I was out there doing stuff and having fun and being free. And I don't want everyone to lose that. And I don't want to live in fear because of the things around me. I don't want to live in fear, just like in the movie. There was a group that lived in fear, and it's kept them trapped in this really bad place. But there's this other group that said, nah, that's not who we are. We're going to live in freedom. And the Lost Boys, right? The Lost Boys is the boys that were bad, right? They were lost. They were struggling. They lost their identity, and they were becoming these other things. But the ones that actually knew who they were, the Frogger brothers, right? They were free, and they were silly, and they were goofy, and they were outcast and loved comics and all this stuff, but they did things their own way. And that's what that movie means to me now. And down in Santa Cruz at the boardwalk, I commemorated it. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I got me a Lost Boys tattoo to always remember to live in freedom and not fear. And it symbolized what that movie means to me. And now some of you may be against tattoos, and that's fine. We can talk about that another time. But I just wanted to share that with you. And I will not live in fear any longer. And I just urge you not to yourself, because there's no hope there. There's only fear. And there's only brokenness. And there's only bondage. All right? Freedom is where it's at, guys. Episode 504, the 4-letter F word. We are out.